Hey, CGMS students, welcome to homework 1.5, rational number fluency. Calculators are okay, but you must show work, and this is due Monday. So for letter A, row A, I gave you a fraction. Easy to change this to a mixed number. 3 into 4 goes in there one time with 1 left over, hence why you get 1 and 1/3. Again, on your calculator, you could always double check this by hitting the ND button, typing in 4/3, and then hitting the second X10 button, right, to convert to a mixed number. Another fraction, I could just take 1 and 1/3 and multiply it by whatever number I want. I'll just do 2, keep it simple. So 1 and 2/6 is the same thing as 1 and 1/3. For a decimal, I really want to break down 1 and 1/3. So 1 is obviously my whole number. 1/3 is not just 0.13, right? There's actual math behind it. And hopefully you've memorized it by now. It's 0.333 repeated. If you haven't, you can do the long division method of 3 into 1, doesn't work. 3 into 10, 3 times, that gives you 9 with 1 left over, and you'll see that it just keeps on repeating and repeating and repeating, right? So another decimal, what I would do, this is one of the few ones where you don't just add another 3. You could take away a 3 if you wanted to, take away 2 3s, but it's just 1.3 repeated. For percent, again, you got to be a little bit careful here. I like writing the one with 3 3s and then moving that decimal from the decimal 2 times to the right. So that's 133.3 repeated percent, not 133.3, because that would be exact. All right. For the picture, obviously just one circle is fully shaded in, and the next circle is, to your best of your ability, divided into thirds, and then one piece of that circle is shaded in. All right, taking half, obviously, remember we always go back to the original fraction, 4/3, divided over 2/1. Remember, you might want to tell yourself this one, when you're dividing, you'll flip the second, and this one, when you're doubling, you won't, or don't flip. All right, so 4/3 times 1/2, multiply straight across, you get 4/6, or you could go ahead and say, hey, I can cross cancel, this becomes a 2, this becomes a 1, and I multiply straight across, and I get my simplified version of 2/3, right? So 4/6 is not simplify it down to 2/3. Next one, 4/3 times 2/1. Remember, no flipping, also no cross canceling here. Multiply straight across, you get 8/3. I'm not going to accept that because that is an improper fraction. So remember, you can type ND 8/3, and then you can hit enter and hit second the X10 button, right, to convert it to a mixed number. That's 2 and 2/3 as your mixed number. All right. For row B, again, it might be easiest to go to another decimal first. So 2.6 repeated, right? Take off 1 or 2 of the 6s. You could literally put 2.66 repeated if you want. I don't care. It's up to you. You could add a 4th 6 if you want, right? Just so it's the same thing. For the percent, 2.666 repeated. Again, go from the decimal 2 times to the right. So that's 266.6 repeated percent. Now it's probably going to be helpful to go to the mixed number. So 2.666 repeated. Let's break it down. Obviously, we have 2 wholes and 0.66 repeated. Now this is tough because you're like, well, this is the thousands place, so that'd be 666 over 1,000. This one you just have to memorize. 0.666 repeated, that's 2/3. Just like 0.333 repeated is 1/3. 0.666 repeated is 2/3. All right. To change this to a fraction, 2 and 2/3. Sorry, not 2 and 3/3. 2 and 2/3. You could put it in your calculator. It will convert it for you, or you can show the work here too, or you should show the work. 2 plus 6 is 8/3. For another fraction, 2 and 2/3, I like multiplying by 2. You know what? Let's switch it up. Let's multiply by 3. 2 and 6/9. If you multiply by 2, it'd be 2 and 4/6, same thing. Picture is easy. That's 2 full circles colored in, and then another circle divided into thirds with 2 pieces shaded in. Let me try and do that a little bit better. So 1 piece, 2 piece, 2/3 of it shaded in. Again, this last box, we always use that last or first fraction, so divided by 2/1. Remember to flip it. So 8/3 times 1/2. Again, before you multiply straight across, you might want to see if you can't cross cancel, and you can here. Divide by 2. So that becomes a 4 and a 8 becomes a 4, 2 becomes a 1. So you get 4 over 3, which obviously we know is 1 1/3. And then if you have 8 over 3 times 2 over 1, nothing to cross cancel here. Multiply straight across, you get 16 over 3. Not going to accept that, right? Improper fraction. Again, you can use the calculator to convert. You can use the division method to convert 3 into 16, right? A whole bunch of different ways. Anyway, it's going to give you 5 1/3, right? Last row is the eighths. So I haven't really quizzed you on these yet, but they're pretty simple. So if I have 3 1/8, let me write that a little bit better. Change that to a fraction. I say 3 times 8, so that's 24. That gives me 25 over 8. Another fraction, this time I will just multiply by 2. Gives me 3 2/16. For the decimal, 3 1/8. Obviously 3 is my whole number. Now if you haven't memorized your eighths, that's okay. You could check out what it is on your calculator. ND 1 over 8. Obviously that gives you 0.125. And then if you're like, Mr. Mason, I don't like using the calculator, I like actually knowing this stuff, well then you do the long division method right over here. 3 goes into 10, no, 3 goes into 1, no, but 3 goes into 10 one time. That's 8, 2 left over. 3 goes into 22 times, that's 16. 4 left over. 3 goes into 40 5 times, nothing left over. So that's how we get the 0.125. This one, for another decimal, this one you do just add a 0, right? Anytime it's a number that's not a repeated number, you can just add a 0. For the percent, 3.125. Again, start from the decimal once, twice, and it gives you 312.5%. For the picture, obviously, we're going to have 3 whole boxes shaded in. And obviously, Mr. Mason made a mistake here. I need another extra box, so why don't you draw one? And divide it into eighths. So I'll divide it into fourths, 1, 2/4, 3/4, and then go across, and there's eighths, right? So I just shaded 1. Fraction, use that first box of 25 over 8, divided by 2 over 1. Flip before you look to cross cancel. 25 over 8 times 1 over 2. Gives you 25 over 16. That goes in there one time with 9 left over, so 1 9/25. And then 25 over 8 times 1 over 2. Times 2 over 1, my fault. 1, we can cross cancel here. This becomes a 1, that becomes a 4. Multiplying straight across, I get 25 over 4. 4 can go into 25 6 times, because that's 24 with 1 left over, 6 1/4. Right. Lastly, you got to remember to plot your numbers on the number line. So for A, which is 4/3 or 1 1/3, I'd go to the 1 between 2, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Might want to make this a little bit larger. So 1/3, 2/3. It's going to be 4 over 3, which is A. The next one, 2.666 repeated, or otherwise 2 2/3, somewhat similar. 2 1/3, 2 2/3, 2 3/3. So 2.66666 repeated. That's going to be B. And then lastly, 3 1/8. So 3 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8. So 3 1/8 right there, or C. Pretty close by. All right, you got the back side. Please show all your work. Obviously, here we're working with thirds, here we're working with tenths, and here we're working with eighths. Best of luck. Call me if you have questions. Don't forget to label them on the number line at the end.